An interview from 2012 with Bill Wood, a former Navy member who claimed he had access to information about Project Stargate and something called Project Looking Glass. It involves timeline simulations, a convergence point in 2012, and the possibility that CERN plays a role in trying to beat the timeline.
This 2012 thing has shown up not just in scientific areas, but in astrological and all sorts of other predictions too.
Maya's calendar, yeah.
Oh yes, of course, and the Maya calendar. Yep.
What do you think it can be? Like, if you want to guess, take a wild guess.
At that 2012 point, that there was some potential catastrophe that would affect everyone, but that somehow we humans changed our thinking to some degree, or changed our attitudes so that didn't materialize.
It could have been... Okay, before we start, guys, if you see the hype button in the comment section, hype the video, and if you be kind, like the video and comment and let us know where you're watching this video from, your country, your city. Thank you so much.
Hello there, Mr. Money.
Hello, sir. How have you been doing?
I have been practicing stillness and silence. And my head is spinning. It does not like it. We're so used to being busy, productive, busy, more productive, busy, that just sitting down and being, it nearly caused this nervous breakdown in my head at the beginning. Then when things calm down, it's better. And then eventually it's unbelievably fantastic and wonderful, and I don't want to leave it.
I think that's the epidemic, like people going through life almost as if they like in a autopilot mode.
Yeah.
And they don't have time to sit down and put things in perspective. And some people don't, like, they run away from putting things in perspective.
Yeah.
And they're like, they wonder why their life is a mess.
Yes. Well, I must say, my life is not a mess, but the house is, because I haven't done a lot of tidying up. But it's nice and tidy inside here. I have a dear friend, B Song. She is often saying, we are humans being, not humans doing. I really feel that sums up really a lot of our troubles on the planet right now. We're so conditioned to being productive and useful and doing, and when is the time for us?
I think that's by design.
Yes, okay, I'm not a big conspiracy theory person, as you know, but
depends on who you ask.
yeah. Okay, but this one, I really do understand that we've been sucked into the mechanical machine of profit, and have been doing so probably for 200 to 300 years with the Industrial Revolution, and this is what's just got to change. Look where it's led us now. You know, the extremes of wealth and poverty and exploitation, and so it's something we can do, is come back to being and not doing all the time. And I'm kind of forcing the issue at the moment and within myself by taking long periods each day just to really, really find how Lyle is deeply on the inside, and getting there. Yeah, it's good. So that's how I am. That was a very long answer for a short question.
No, it's actually very related to our topic today, because today we want to identify the cause of this doing and not just being.
Good.
It's along those lines.
Good. Yes, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to see like how it's connected to just we've been programmed and conditioned to just do. Oh, career. Oh, this, that. No. like, you gotta stand up on your feet and like deal with shit, and this is like cultural from like parenting, school, and society always like told you like, yeah, it's up to you. You have to do better or whatever. Which is, I'm not against doing good and doing better every day, but to have that pressure on you,
Oh, absolutely.
to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
forced to you, like some people, like it's like we have different skills, we have different potentials. And if you just put everyone in the same category, no, this
Of
is it.
course.
You have to
Yeah.
wake up at 4 a.m.,
Yes.
work out, and then it's just like, this is the new fucking, it's everywhere trending. Like, oh, if you want to be a CEO, you have to act like a CEO. You wake up at 4 a.m., you do your workout already at 5 a.m., make your bed or whatever shit. And then by 7 o'clock, you're ahead of, I don't know, 90% of people in the world. And then you can make a productive day. And it's like, well, it's like, that's a miserable life, dude.
And think if you discover on your deathbed, okay, there wasn't a race at all. It was fake.
Yeah, I'm discovering it now.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, imagine if you discovered that on your last day of life on Earth that there wasn't a race, there wasn't a competition. You didn't have to beat everyone down. It was just what we were taught.
But some people are, it's hard to talk shit about just people, like ordinary people, because I consider myself an ordinary person. I'm not saying like, oh, I figure shit out. No, I'm lost as everybody else. But
good, yeah. Well,
at least I'm
you're human.
I started to recognize shit, like when I see things like going like subway or like doesn't work. I put things in perspective. It's like, okay, what's the cause of it? Is it because my shortcomings, or is it like literally design? Like it doesn't matter what I've done or like what could I have done. It didn't matter. It would have gone the same way. And when I see that, then I started to like question things. And I recognize things. It's like,
you mean you were trying to take responsibility for why the subway was broken? Or did I misunderstand you?
No, it's in a more personal level.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, for example, we didn't release an episode last week or the week before last week.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
So it's up to me to do it, right?
Yes.
But sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, there is no reason to put extra pressure to something that wasn't ideal. I'm not saying it was bad, but it wasn't ideal. Because it's if you recognize it's a marathon, it's not like a 100-meter dash. You have to pace yourself.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I'm recognizing when I see like all these social media influencers are trying to like, oh no, wake up at this, do this until like wake up at 3, wake up at 2 a.m.
Don't go to bed at all. Sounds
why
like.
are you sleeping? Why do you need to sleep? This is like, it's not sustainable. Like you have to
of course.
pick a lifestyle that is sustainable and along the line with your goals. But if you just go with it like, oh no, I want to, I want shortcut. It's like, yeah, but at some time you're gonna hit the wall and you're gonna be drained, and you're gonna figure out like, that's not the way, that's not the right approach. But those millionaires and billionaires tell you that's the way, and then you research a little and figure out, oh no, they just got the fucking money from their parents, or like, you learn about their backgrounds, and you know, and then you're like, so is that a fucking game? Is that a mind game that they play? Anyway, we don't want to get lost in details. Today we want to talk about the power of belief.
Yes, now you're talking my language, dude. Yes, let's do it.
And to spice things up, we're going to review a whistleblower that came out I think in 1990 something,
Okay.
and blow a whistle on projects that were taking place by the government, U.S. government. And the most famous one is Stargate and Project Looking Glass.
Okay.
So
I remember those two. I was around then. Don't remember that much, but I remember they existed. Yeah.
yeah, so it's going to be an interesting
That's great.
discussion.
And it just sounds like we're heading towards quantum mechanics again. I love
Quantum
it.
physics, yeah, all that. But
That's
it's
great. Yeah.
yeah, more like probabilities and possibilities
All right. Let's dive into it.
and timelines.
Oh, wow. Come on, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a little later than it was a little later than 1990 something. An interview from 2012 with Bill Wood, this guy, a former Navy member who claimed he had access to information about Project Stargate and something called Project Looking Glass, which I mentioned Project Looking Glass before, but we didn't get into the details of it.
No,
Yeah. I mean, I said what it is, but,
I know. I realize that.
yeah. It involves timeline simulations, a convergence point in 2012,
Yes.
and the possibility that CERN plays a role in trying to beat the timeline.
This 2012 thing has shown up not just in scientific areas, but in astrological and all sorts of other predictions too.
Maya's calendar, yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. And the Maya calendar. Yep.
Whether this is real, misinformation or a symbolic story, it's full of ideas,
Yes.
Like I don't mind, it's entertaining at the end of the day, but it can be informing as well.
Blending a bit of science, a bit of philosophy, conspiracy all at once.
Yeah. So take it with a pinch of salt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. But to me, this just opens doors that we can question.
Definitely.
No, I mean, question our normal view of things. That's what I mean.
I don't know how normal our views are, but
Yeah. Well, that's why I do this.
yeah, these are ideas worth exploring.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and really that's what we're about, isn't it? It's like opening new possibilities and, as you say, making it make sense, but making it, to me, as the norm, make sense or not. So yes, very good.
Yeah, definitely. Let me just play the video. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's quite a strange one, isn't it? To start with.
yeah. Okay, they started in a kind of public place, and then suddenly helicopters show up, and they were flying over for like, I don't know, minutes, close to an hour.
Yeah.
And then they change the location. They go to more like,
That's right,
private
yeah.
location to be able to have the interview. So coincidence, whatever, who knows. But when they go to the private location, the helicopter shows up again.
Oh, that I missed.
That's a huge coincidence if it was a coincidence.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear what Bill says happened inside these programs too, not just the helicopters.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, that's the thing we want to get into.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
Project Looking Glass. We starting there?
Yeah. All right. To give some background, what was the Project Looking Glass? I'm going to play the video for you as well, but just to have some background. It was a system, a controlled environment designed to simulate how the future changes based on present choices. So already it's like, it's very feasible.
Yes.
Like, okay, yeah, it's easy to have all the data, feed it to the machine or computer and ask for a result. But how they did it is a little creepy. Basically, feed the system scenario A, see future outcome of it. Feed the system scenario B, see the future outcome of scenario B. And it's like a probabilistic modeling.
Yeah.
It's not like 100%, but it gives like more percentage to the scenario that is.
What an algorithm is, actually.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they know what advertisements to feed us online. Yeah.
But around the same period, the CIA funded a classified program called Project Infer,
which I haven't heard of before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which used Bayesian inference and early AI techniques to forecast geopolitical events.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, the whole point was like for them to be able to find a method to like edit and audit the timeline.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make changes.
I gotcha. Yeah.
To get the result that they want.
Yes. Yeah. So they're starting at the end and saying, okay, what steps need to happen before we get that result?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's...
I guess that's what we do when we're making goals, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. True.
So that's sort of normalish.
Yeah, but when you're in the position of power, then it's manipulation.
Yeah, okay.
You're manipulating the whole
when you're doing it on a big scale
nation to get the result that you want. And
yes, that's true. Like dumbing down people to make them more manageable, for example.
Yeah. And that's evil.
What did I just say? Oh dear. Let's move on.
So this interview exists in a long format and a short one that has been made by the channel Be Inspired.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to play the short version, but there is a long version of it. If you want to watch it, I'm going to put the link in the description. All right.
When you approached me, it was quite surprising that you had the kind of disclosures that you had and some of the background that you had. I do want to say that we're in a public place here, but we are forced to be in this kind of a public place for a number of reasons that I can't explain on camera. But take it from me, there's a purpose for this.
And that's because the information in this interview needs extra caution. Minutes later, something strange happened.
I just want to make sure that we cover this sort of preliminary until we go to the low by low of what went on.
See how low the helicopters are flying?
Yeah.
See? The shaking, whatever.
And the windows there. Yeah. Oh.
Helicopters in the vicinity, in the background. What do you think?
This is not going away.
Once you hear what he's about to say, the timing of those helicopters won't feel random anymore.
We have had to move from our location where we were to a more private situation in order to take this testimony because we have been overflown by repeated number of helicopters that simply did not want to go away.
They were there long before the interview.
Let me be straight with you. While working on this video, some of the things I found really shook my sense of reality a bit. It might do the same for you, but I'd honestly recommend watching it until the end, because it gets very, very interesting.
One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information that had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically the 2012 problem with those projects. I guess popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012.
This is a 2012 Project Camelot interview with Carrie Cassidy and Bill Wood, a former Navy member who said he had access to information far outside the public eye. At that time, people were already talking about 2012. But Bill claimed the real concern wasn't a prophecy or a calendar date. It was a classified program the public almost never heard about. It was called Project Looking Glass. a secret program built around a controlled setup where they tested how different decisions could change what comes next. It wasn't one machine, but an entire process. They would adjust certain conditions, introduce a possible choice, and then watch how the timeline shifted. The goal
That's super interesting.
Yeah, like the film Sliding Doors.
Yeah. But the point is, like, I'm not against the technology. I'm not against anything here. I love it. You know, especially when it's science-based. Like, you can, like, put it in practice and see the result. I'm not against that. But the intention behind it.
Yeah, I get you.
Like, it's never about the technology. It's never about the AI. It's never about the advancement.
No,
it's
this is
about
just the tools. Yeah.
Why?
Yes.
Why would you do that? And what is your goal? What is your intention to gain that knowledge? And it's never a good intention, and I don't understand why. You know, I don't understand why isn't it not for betterment of humanity? Betterment? Can you say that?
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah.
I
Well
just
done.
said it. But it's never in those directions, and I don't understand why. Why is it always about like more control, more suffering? I like it doesn't fit inside my head. It's like, to serve who?
It's because we've all learned to be up here in our heads and control and have and avoid the hearts. We got out of balance. That's why.
Mm.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all, I'm afraid. I'm not saying I want it to be that way, but I'm sure that's why it is. You know? Especially we Westerners, we kind of lost touch with that balance.
Yeah, so to not get lost,
No.
this
it's
is
not.
the way I'm very curious, and it's very interesting to see like they have this type of like, you know, approach towards the future.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
But you know, the way they wanted to use it is like it's never for a good cause, and that's sad.
Yes.
Like, they could like prevent, let's say, I mean, based on what they say here, they couldn't see past 2012, but all the bad events that happened before that, they could have prevented. Like 2008 stock market crash, they could have prevented based on what we hear, you know, based on the information we get from this video.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't serve a purpose for them, apparently, you know, what they wanted.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
So it shows like, because I was about to say like they could have prevented the global pandemic, but then I was like, okay, it's based on this information. It says like they couldn't see past 2012, so that wasn't a possibility. But all the events that happened before that, because they started in 1950s.
Yeah.
Imagine how much like shit we could have avoided. But here we are now.
Let's see what happens.
goal wasn't to predict the future like a fortune teller. The goal was to see how the future reacts when the present changes, almost like watching reality update itself based on every decision made.
The timelines converge on that point in time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
What Bill is describing here is the main flaw behind the technology they were using. The idea was this: they would feed different choices into the system. Things like, what happens if we choose X? Or what happens if we choose Y? And the machine would show the most likely future for each choice. At first, it looked extremely convincing. If one option showed a 79% chance of happening and the other showed 21%, They assumed the 79% outcome was basically guaranteed. In other words, they believed the machine could calculate the future like a probability chart, the same way weather forecasts or simulations work. But what they didn't realize was that these probabilities could change very fast once real people, free will, and real-world actions started influencing the situation. Something that looked almost certain at one moment could shift completely a short time later. Bill's point is simple. They were treating the numbers as fixed, when in reality, the future was still flexible. So the big mistake wasn't the data. It was believing that the data could not change. This created a false sense of certainty, and that's why everything started to fall apart later.
What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision and no possibility changed past a certain point.
What do you think that can be?
Yeah, I really put a lot of thought into this in these last days, and I don't have a clue.
Like if you want to guess. Take a wild guess.
At that 2012 point, that there was some potential catastrophe that would affect everyone, but that somehow we humans changed our thinking to some degree or changed our attitudes so that it didn't materialize.
It could have been that, or it could have been total domination by the system. I think people have started to like waking up to the fact that, oh, these systems, this government, these state, nations, whatever you want to call it, this concept, it's not all there to serve for my benefits. It's there to control
So
and protect like a very small minority group of people.
Okay.
And I think one of the factors that plays a huge part in it was the internet. Like it changed the way that we consume news, events, information. Like anything is like easily accessible if you want to know the facts about it, if you want to know the conventional explanation or the like a fringe side of it. You easily can have access to it. Before it was like you have to go to library, look for the book if there was a book about that topic. But now it's like all the information is right there. It's just up to you to search and have access to it.
So do you mean that maybe we were fed some story about 2012 that something should happen then?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with 2012 itself.
Okay.
I think like how do you say, coming up to 2012. Like this happened in 2000s.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And people started to like get more information, and then they because the prediction was that they could predict because it was easy to predict. People were very predictable. Yeah. But then people changed their like almost like their minds shifted towards like, oh no, this shit doesn't make sense. So I'm not gonna do the my usual routine to like react to it. I'm gonna react differently. I'm gonna learn more. I'm gonna start my own company. You know what I mean? I'm gonna
sure.
So these small changes in like a humanity's perspective changed the whole outcome of it. So it wouldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
2012 was like a crucial point that is like everybody kind of, not everybody, but majority of people were like kind of not fully, but they were awakened to the fact that, oh, they need to make changes. They cannot just follow the word of this is like, this makes like everybody take this decision, so I have to follow up. No, I'm going to do my own way. And, I think if I want to give possibility to one event, it's like humanity be more informed and like kind of resist against the mainstream narrative.
So you mean, so in one way, the collective thinking shifted.
Exactly.
Yeah. I buy that 100%. That's much better than my story. Yeah.
No, but you see it as if it was an event,
Yeah.
but I see it as if it was like a decade of
Oh, yep.
like being
Exactly.
more informed and learn more about
Yeah.
how the governments work, how the banking system work, how you know what I mean, different ways of like lower income or higher income. It's like because you have access to it.
So,
You
so
could have
that,
searched on YouTube or whatever, and now it's like it's so unpredictable for them. Like nobody could see. Like we end up in 2025, we end up being racist again. You know.
yeah.
And it's just like I don't know if they're working on another method to manipulate. I think they do. I think they took another approach. I think the pandemic and the lockdowns, because we didn't have lockdowns here in Sweden,
Oh,
which is a huge plus to our perspective. But they had lockdown and they've been fed misinformation, disinformation. They lost the trust in the government, which is not a bad thing by itself. But if you lose something bad and gain something worse, then it's not a positive change.
yeah.
So I think they lost the trust in government, which is by itself it was okay. But then they went with like a cookie crazy person like Alex Jones or whatever, and they that's true. And then as soon as they gain more followers and whatever.
You mean Jim Jones?
No, Alex Jones.
Oh, sorry.
Is the like a OG conspiracy theorist.
Okay. All right. Yep.
I believe he's a sellout, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you get fed misinformation or like you get manipulated, but from the side that you think like is telling the truth. Like if you put your trust on.
Sure. Yeah.
And that lockdown change, that was another perspective shift for the collective mind. And the result of it was Trump 2024. And now there is another shift on the way. The people waking up to the fact like, oh no, this system left and right, it's not there to serve us.
Yes.
Yeah, one might be better than the other, but we don't want to have a choice between bad and worse.
Yeah.
Let's stop with that nonsense.
You're talking about what they call the awakening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
snapping out of this, ghastly situation we're ending up in. Yeah. Thank goodness. Yeah.
So I think that was the 2012.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
So in other words, you could say it's like an unintentional collective thinking meant that the 2012 didn't actually happen. I mean, nothing dramatic happened then that we know of, did it?
Yeah, it happened in our minds.
What happened?
We cracked the control of.
That's what I mean.
Stop being predictable.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It was a collective thinking, an unintentional collective thinking that meant that whatever the computers were trying to predict, whatever that thing was, didn't really happen. I mean, we went beyond it.
No, the thing is that prediction was because of the collective mind shift.
Exactly.
So it wasn't supposed to happen something like that. It was wasn't nothing that's supposed to happen in 2012. They couldn't just predict more. That's the whole thing.
Yes.
Like it wasn't one single event that is gonna happen,
Okay.
and then they cannot predict.
All right.
As they were getting closer to 2012, the varieties and possibilities and probabilities will all the choices will lose the big effect that they could have or different effect that they could have. That's what they say.
Understand that.
And I think the reason for it was that people are waking up to the fact they have some agency. They shouldn't
Yeah.
just follow whoever or whatever narrative that is out there.
Yes, what I wanted to mention in relation to that, and we've mentioned it in earlier podcasts too, is experiments done by transcendental meditation. There's several of them, but the one I'm thinking about happened in New Zealand, where they said that if they could get, I think it was 10% of the population of Wellington, New Zealand's capital, they get 10% of them meditating for so long each day for a month that they could reduce the crime rate. And they did drastically. I think it was 30% drop in that month. Of course, it went up again when they stopped meditating, but as it does. But I mean, I just want to mention that because it's a concrete example of what collective thinking can do. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that was a conscious thing, and what I think what you're talking about is maybe not so conscious in that way, not so collective in that way, but had that effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really believe in that power. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've seen it happen with my own eyes. I was there.
And one of the things that I'm trying to do here is to, as best of my ability, I know like I'm nobody and nobody needs to listen to me, but I'm just trying to like inform people about the power that they possess.
I get that. Yeah.
It's like, it's up to you. It's like it's happening here and here, as you mentioned. It's like it's mostly happening within you. The life is happening the life comes from you, not at you. It's happening within you. So if you settle yourself in your mind and heart, and well, this is a little like, early in the podcast, I want to mention at the end, but like that's the approach you need to have towards your life. So in 2012, they break the chains of this machine. People become unpredictable. They couldn't predict the events, even with the rate of accuracy of 79% or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say what we're discussing is probably not a new phenomenon. As long as we've lived in societies, there's probably always been some degree of guiding. I just got a picture of an old runestone up the road from here, and it says something like, Eric was here, Vikings rule okay. Okay, that's quite a benign thing, but in actual fact, it is, people, the Vikings rule. Oh, okay, they're in charge. Yeah. If we don't really figure out that, it's just someone blowing off steam,
True.
Yeah, a little parenthesis there. Let's carry on.
That's the big secret.
Okay, so is that certainly 2012 in your understanding?
It well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
Bill says that as they kept testing the machine,
By the way, what is it with December 21st?
It's midwinter solstice. I don't know if that has any bearing on it. That's, by the way,
It's a very special date. That's what I mean.
yeah, it is. And now we've got this lovely Atlas thing coming back on the 19th too.
Yeah, but who was it? Dolores Cannon was talking about December 21st,
yes, thank you.
2025.
She's saying that's the shift of the new consciousness is shifting to be more. There's more of that energy than the old energy. It's the tip over point. Yeah, and I think she called it the Great Divide or something. Not a physical one, but yeah, you're right. There we have that date again. Yeah.
I think December 24th has been mentioned in so many prophecies with different years maybe, but the date is December 21st.
And we've got one more in a few more weeks.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
something strange started happening. No matter what scenario they entered, all timelines were ending in the same future. Normally, when you test different choices, you expect different results. Different paths, different outcomes. But at a certain point, around the end of 2012, every path, every possibility, every simulation started showing the same ending. That's what he means when he says all possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history. To the people running the project, this was terrifying. Why? Because it meant they had lost control. It didn't matter what they did, what decisions they made, or what plans they tried to execute. The machine kept showing the same final outcome. So the big secret wasn't that the future could be predicted. The big secret was that the future seemed locked, and nothing they did could change the direction things were heading. This is the moment where the people in charge started to panic, not because they knew what was coming, but because they couldn't stop it.
The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game. Nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
The people who had full access to the Looking Glass data eventually realized something unsettling. The machine kept giving them the same answer, over and over again, an outcome they did not want. For years, they believed the future could be shaped, influenced, or redirected. But once the timelines started converging, the technology stopped giving them the results they were hoping for. Every test ended the same way. Every scenario collapsed into the same final point. Bill says that this was the moment when those in control understood they had reached the end of the game, a point beyond which their influence no longer mattered. And here's the part that raises the real question. If they didn't like the answer, did they try finding a way to change the entire phenomenon? If a tool that once worked was suddenly useless...
So that's a big question. After they figure out, okay, it's out of their hands, what did they do? Like, did they find another way? And apparently they did.
Well, things continued, didn't they? So
The things will always continue to go, but to gain the control
yeah.
and to predict or to create a timeline that they like, the scenario that they like. Did they do anything to be able to do that? And apparently they did.
Well, this is just me blabbing now, but really, sort of from about that time onwards, when you think about it, things have become much more extreme politically in many places. I mean, the easy one is to look at the United States now. You know, look, that's... I don't know how they've ended up there, but maybe that's what you were talking about. They've done something different that where there is a much more tight control, dictatorial control over the planet now, I guarantee you, than before 2012. But how we've got there, that's an interesting question.
We'll see.
Yes.
Useless. It's only natural to imagine that they would search for another method, another technology, capable of pushing reality in a different direction, or at least delaying the outcome they feared. If they were looking for a way to override or bypass the convergence of timelines, there is one project people often point to because of its timing, scale, and ambition. A project designed to manipulate the smallest building blocks of reality itself. And that brings us to CERN.
What about the notion that CERN, for example, is engaged in trying to beat that game, as you call it?
I would say, look at the problems CERN has had, the crazy little things that have kept that project from moving forward. Certainly, they have never even come close to getting that project to the level they want it to be to do what they really want to do with it.
Okay, well, what about the notion that that's the party line, that they haven't been able to do so? But if you really think about it, that's what they would prefer people believe so that they don't think that there's a threat.
Listen to the interviews of the scientists that are working on the project. Even they say that it seems like somebody or something from the future won't let them get that project done.
This interview happened in 2020.
It's very interesting. By the way, if you watch Three Body Problem, you know exactly what they're talking about. And in the three-body problem, spoiler alert, in the three-body problem, the alien that's supposed to come from whatever far galaxy away they send like a AI that is delaying their access
Okay.
in CERN to, gain the result that they want.
Oh, I see a parallel here with alien intervention with nuclear arms and nuclear power.
Yeah, pretty much.
I haven't been aware of this before in relation to CERN, but from what I do know of CERN and what it is capable of, it would make good sense to me that they would then put a spoke in the wheel there too, so we don't get sucked up into a great black hole or something.
Yeah.
Because well, if you just go on, I just go on instinctive feeling. CERN has some enormous possibilities there, enormous potential. Not being a scientist, I don't really know what I mean with that, but I can feel it there, that there is enormous power, enormous possibilities to do something great or something disastrous. Because remember, if little old Earth gets out of tune with time and with the rhythms of the cosmos, it affects the whole system, not just little old us. So I think that's really perfectly logical to think that they would stop us silly little children playing with fire. But I haven't heard about that before, so that's very interesting for me.
Yeah.
12. At that time, CERN was already a massive scientific organization, founded in 1954, and had become the world's largest particle physics laboratory. But what most people don't realize is that the machine everyone talks about, the Large Hadron Collider, only became fully operational in 2008, just a few years before Bill's testimony. In simple terms, this machine does one thing. It accelerates tiny particles to almost the speed of light and smashes them together. When they collide, they break into even smaller pieces, allowing scientists to study the fundamental structure of reality, the particles and forces that existed right after the Big Bang. It's like a giant microscope, but instead of using lenses and light, it uses extreme collisions to reveal the building blocks of the universe. And yes, CERN did face real, documented problems. In its first years, they dealt with overheating magnets, electrical faults, leaks, and unexpected shutdowns that forced the entire collider to stop multiple times. These weren't hidden events. They were public technical failures that slowed down the project. The official purpose of the LHC has always been straightforward: to understand matter, energy, and the origins of the universe. Nothing mystical, nothing dramatic, just high-energy physics pushing technology to its limit. But the timing is what makes people curious. Bill was talking about timelines converging in 2012. CERN was pushing the collider to its highest power levels in the exact same period.
They try to open new timelines. And I think they did.
Why do you think that?
I think all this, we're going to talk about it, but all these false memories, Mandela Effects, all this came about after 2012.
Oh,
I don't have any recollection of somebody talks about Mandela Effect before 2012. So they create timelines, boom, 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 and the events are slightly different in those timelines. And I think it converts to one timeline again, and people remember things differently, and they start a new timeline, start several timelines again, and that's the game that they.
I would like to put
now.
my little spanner in the works here. No, not really, just another possibility. I have read and have a slight amount of experience with parallel universes. It's like repeats of this one, endless. Like when you look in two mirrors together and you can just see reflections of each one. And I'm wondering if maybe the CERN activator thing might have opened up
Exactly, that's what they do. They opening up portals or access.
Yeah, to the
they
other dimensions.
tap into
Yeah.
those, and I don't know what exactly is. This is really out of my pay grade, but maybe they can tap into different timelines for different people to get the result that they want.
Oh, well, yeah, who knows?
Like, and they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
set like a,
Yeah.
I don't know, this part of the world to this timeline, like shit like that. Very sci-fi, you know.
Yeah.
Very crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if we have time for this, but when was it? Last year, maybe year before? I asked if I could see into a parallel universe. And I was told yes, and did my meditation thing. And instantaneously, I was in this house. It looked like a European house. It kind of looked the same. I could look out the window and see the traffic going by, and there came a Mercedes E-Class, the most common Mercedes there is, and it nearly looked right, but the proportions weren't quite the right, and it was a little squarer than you would imagine, than the ones are in this dimension. And then I looked on the table, and there was what looked like kind of like celery. And I took some of it and tasted it, and it was very sweet, yet it looked like celery. So it's things that nearly the same, but they're not. And it freaked me out. I was out of there. I don't know why, but it was so real. Well, it was real, but I experienced that there are real places there, and nearly the same. So, you know, maybe in one of them, Mandela did die in 2008. And maybe that was a real event in that particular universe. And yet in our one here, as I remember, it was later, 2013 or something.
No, it's not. Mandela didn't die in 2008. Mandela died in the prison in like 80s something or 90s.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but that's what I mean. Maybe in that another dimension that happens, another parallel world. But in our one, I think it was 2013.
That's like, I think it's very plausible that there are multiverse, like different, like similar to our world. It's like, you know, but that's not the point. The point is like they tap into and they shift peoples to those timelines, and then it convert itself to the same timeline again, like happened, like what actually happened in 2012, and then they do it again with like this technology that they have, because the particle accelerator that they have in CERN, they have like several all over the globe.
Yeah,
so they do, and it's like shift people's timeline with like a I don't know, like a ratio of like, I don't know, 5 kilometers or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
yeah,
I'm talking out of my ass, but you get what I mean. Maybe they like, you know, like here and there, and then it comes back, it converts to the same timeline again, and people remember things differently.
Yeah. Memory.
So, yeah. But let's watch this. Let's continue, because it's been more than an hour, I guess, by now.
And for many people online, the overlap between the two stories raises a simple question. Were they just studying reality, or trying to push against something much bigger?
At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them this is what's going to happen over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it?
Why? What is this that's going to happen?
The inevitable contraction of the timelines.
The idea described here is that at a certain point, all timelines begin moving toward the same outcome because people's awareness naturally increases. According to Bill, this isn't an ending or a collapse. It's an awakening, a moment where more people start seeing things clearly, questioning what they're told, and understanding information that once felt hidden or confusing. And once this process begins, it can't really be stopped. The old ways of shaping or influencing the future don't work the same, because people become harder to mislead. If this awakening, as Bill describes it, is real, then some of the strange things people notice today become more interesting. The Mandela Effect, for example, when large groups of people remember something differently than...
Well, it feels like cheating almost, because I watched this video, but like what I add to it, in my opinion, was the internet plays a huge part.
Well, it must do. Yeah, of course.
Because like,
Information.
before that, you just like consume information or news from like, your TV or channels or whatever. It was like propaganda, and you didn't have any other way. And there were conspiracy theories, but you didn't have access to it. They didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
They didn't have a platform to like, talk about it and people get to listen to them. There was some like a radio channel or whatever, but not to this scale with internet. And that's what I'm thinking, like that's the big effect comes from the internet.
Yes. And I imagine with the advent of AI, that's only going to be more intense.
I think one of the reasons that we have AI now, as I said, CERN, AI, all these technologies are not evil by itself. It can really help humanity. It can change our world for better. It can like do so much good that is like it's not even feasible for our minds. But people behind them.
Sure.
And it's like now I see who are in charge of AI in USA, and I don't trust those people. I just don't. I don't see any good in them. I don't. If you do, good for you. I don't.
I don't know who they are, so
it makes it scary because AI, I don't think by itself is going to be a problem. But people who are developing it, they're gonna fuck things up because they want to create something to help them control.
Yeah, we're back to that same old pattern again, eh? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. These are just lovely tools given to us, but it's we humans that we need to sort out, not the technologies.
A small group of us.
Yeah.
The people that you're talking about, it's a small group of us that have the most influence and power. It's like we're going to have an episode about it, like 13 families in Europe, 13 families in USA, and some families in Asia. We're gonna have an episode about it. Just mention it. I don't know how true it is, but that they have the power and that's the, you want to call it secret society, Illuminati or whatever on top of the pyramid. That's those families are ruling the world.
Well, I would like to come back to Dolores Cannon's thing about the 21st of December, that if this is really going to be coming into effect, which I do agree that will, that sort of mindset's just going to collapse eventually. This must do.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Well, she said it's the tipping point, so, I mean, nothing's going to happen on the 22nd of December, but, it's like the wave of, it sounds corny, but a wave of goodness coming over the planet.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
For change. All right, let's watch the last part of this.
Sure.
Then we can...
How it appears now is often discussed as a possible sign that something isn't aligning perfectly in our timeline. A short example. Many people vividly remember Mandela dying in the 1980s, even though the official date is 2013. It doesn't prove anything, but it does make people wonder why these differences are so widespread. These mismatched memories are often compared to small glitches, tiny hints that the timeline may have shifted or changed direction at some point. Logos that look different than people remember. Movie lines that suddenly don't match the version in their heads. details that feel off. Even if there are normal explanations, the pattern itself leaves people with questions. This idea connects back to converging timelines. If reality did shift toward a single direction, some small details might not have carried over perfectly, which could explain why certain memories no longer match what we see today.
No, I am your father.
Seen this way, the awakening Bill talks about becomes easy to understand. More clarity, more awareness, more people paying attention, and a future that's harder to control through confusion or uncertainty.
Is it your understanding that the notion that Looking Glass has been, that there are various looking glasses around the globe supposedly, that according
By the way, if you want us to break down the whole interview with him, comment, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be a long episode, but I think it's gonna be interesting.
to Dan Burish were shut down, is it your understanding they're actually not shut down?
I believe that they're shut down because they are all saying the same thing, and
So it's like
they're
they're
completely useless at this
redundant, is what
point.
you're saying.
Right. It's like the Wicked Witch, looking into the, magic mirror and always getting the same answer. If you were always getting the exact opposite of the answer that you wanted, you'd stop talking to the mirror. And that's essentially what happened with Looking Glass, is not only did they not want people to use it anymore because they knew it was just going to burp out the same thing, but at the same time they didn't want anybody else to know what it was saying, I'm sure, because
would lose control,
because
yeah.
that information was monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability.
When he talks about the end of their world, the meaning is not about destruction or collapse. It refers to the end of an old system, a system built on secrecy, influence, and controlling what people know or believe. In his view, a large awakening doesn't mean chaos. It means that
The result that he talks about, like they didn't want anybody to see what it says after 2012. I think it was the liberty of humanity.
Yes, I understand that.
Like-
yeah.
Not in the sense just in USA,
Mm.
worldwide.
Yeah.
People connecting and all these governments go away, like big governments and shit. Like we're gonna have a one world, peace and love, whatever, kumbaya, and that would be the result that they were trying to prevent it, because then there will be nobody kind
Yeah.
of.
that more people begin to see things for what they really are. They recognize patterns, they understand how information works, and they become harder to steer in any direction that isn't genuinely aligned with their own thinking. A shift like this doesn't happen all at once. It grows slowly.
And unfortunately, this happened around the same year, 2012, and so on. And they did the dirty play with pandemic, lockdown,
Sure.
and that's the thing that I was mentioning. And they shifted back to, negativity, diversion, like people getting in each other's face. And now they sit back and
But you know
cheers
what?
and laugh at us.
But you know what? In spite of all that, it's look what's happening. There's a great arising of a new way.
I think there is no preventing it from happening.
Exactly.
It's just delaying it.
Yeah.
But it kills me inside.
It's like they're trying to hold on to crusty old greed, and crusty old greed's had its day.
They try to fucking make the Armageddon happen. It's like, dude, let it
Yeah, that's
go.
old stuff. Yeah, thank you. Let it go. Let's get on with
Fucking
some
hell, man.
goodies. Aquarian age. Yeah.
Just be a
21st is
decent
coming
human.
up.
Just be a decent human being. Is that too much to ask?
No, not anymore.
All right, let's finish this video. And
It's a good place to finish, Marnie. Thank you.
no, finish this.
Oh,
Oh,
good. Oh, good. Okay.
by
More.
person, until it reaches a point where the old methods simply stop working. The world that ends is the one where a small group can shape the larger picture without being questioned. and the world that begins is one where people think more independently, ask better questions, and rely less on the stories they are given. From this perspective, the real change is inside people, not outside.
Yes.
It's a change in clarity, awareness, and the ability to recognize when something doesn't add up. And once enough people reach that level, the entire structure of influence loses its strength. Not because someone fought it, but because people no longer respond to it the same way.
We as human beings are far more capable of using many advanced skills beyond 5 senses. With a little bit of training and the knowledge that it was actually possible, most people could accurately predict the possibilities of the future.
Do you feel that you were enhanced physically?
No. I have had a device implanted in me, and I later was of the understanding that that device did not do what I was told it was doing. It was not to provide enhancement, it was to provide monitoring. You were never told that the actual belief in what you were doing was giving you the ability.
What's being described here is a psychological mechanism, not a technological one. The device that was implanted wasn't meant to give anyone special abilities. It was meant to make them believe they had those abilities. And once someone believes something strongly enough...
Exactly. Yeah, I mentioned this before. We talked about it before. What the placebo effect and believing something is going to help you, and then you gain some type of power. And they did that to him and other people, and he realized like the power of belief, as I mentioned at the beginning. That's what we want to talk about. That's the power of belief, like every individual have, but we have been kind of like under pressure and in a stressful situations growing up in life that we lose that belief. We lose that we have any power, like stored in us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be able to get through tough shit, you have to tap into that power. The power of belief. You need to change it. You need to like get in line with the person inside and like stop giving it shit. Stop giving it, oh, what's going to happen if I don't pay the bill? Oh, what if everything goes wrong? It's like those are the things that you put in, like you blind the thing that is can foresee the future that you want. And it's like using the navigation app, whatever it is, Google Map, whatever, wherever you want to go. You have to set the destination.
Yes.
You cannot just like, I have Google Map, I'm trying. It's like, no, you have to set the destination so it shows what road you need to take to get there. And if you sometimes you go wrong, it happens, even if you have a destination. Then it shows you another route to your place. Maybe
another
it's
way to get it.
Yeah, maybe a little later, maybe it takes longer, but it's still, you know where you're going.
Yep.
And the power of belief is that navigation, is that compass that you need to have through life. Yeah. And you have to set up a goal, set up a destination to be able to use it. And it's simple, it's kind of boring, it's like kind of like cliche to say, like you need to have goal in life, you need to set a destination, you need to see the place that you want to be, you need to know what you like, not from what you learn or watch on social media. Really get into the depth of yourself and see what you want really.
Yes.
Not what is pursued to be happiness or luxury or whatever. Okay, what I want, I want a peace and quiet, stability in life, stability in terms of like, some people want to have family, some people want to have like, I don't know, like a successful career or like whatever. They want to be influential in other people, whatever goal that is real for you.
Yeah.
Set it and then it gives you direction, your power of belief. But if you just like shoot it in the dark, then it's not going to go anywhere. So, yeah, that was the thing that we talk about this, like your power of belief. And they used it to manipulate us. And we need to use it in a collective way to like stop this control bullshit system that is dominating and spread evil.
I feel that is already happening in an organic way on an individual level and a collective level without without any planned attack on it, as it were. I feel this is happening.
Yeah.
Just a little example of the power of our own inner power too. In older days in Aboriginal culture in Australia, they had this thing where the witch doctor pointed the bone at you, you died. And they did, because they believed that they were going to die.
Wow.
So there you go. I mean, that doesn't sound terribly positive, but if it works that way, it works the other way too, you know.
Mm.
And in my treatments doing shiatsu, I get quite varied results. And I really feel that the variation in those results is because some people really strongly believe that the treatment's going to make them feel more relaxed or better, whatever they want.
Yeah, definitely.
And they get it. Others who are suspicious or maybe don't know or don't care, okay, they might have a nice treatment, but not much happens. No magic happens. And I feel when I'm doing the treatments that it's to do with their inner power that makes it work. I'm just the messenger boy, making their inner strength come out. So really, really important stuff. I agree, Mark.
Yeah, let's end on that.
Yeah, that's a good place to finish.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys for watching. Comments. Let us know what you think about the power of belief and all these conspiracies and what the whistleblower are trying to tell us. And see you next time.
Bravo.
Cheers.
Next time.